I've tried abstract window squeegee painting on different surfaces, but let's try painting a heart for Valentine's Day. So if you've tried paint tracking before, you may have noticed that afterwards you have this excess paint left on the tool you're using. I have an idea of what you could do with it. I figured it would be hard to actually paint a heart shape with a squeegee, but painting the negative space around it might be easier. So I tried blocking out the heart a few different ways on wood and watercolor paper. I cut out a heart from scrap paper by folding the paper in half and sketching out one half of the heart and cutting it folded so it would be symmetrical. I came up with 3 different ways to do the masking. The first one was kind of gluing the paper heart on the watercolor paper using matte medium by just painting the matte medium on top of the edges of the heart. Now there were some caps and I tried adding some matte medium in those caps too to completely seal it and prevent the paint from getting under the paper heart, but you'll see whether that was a good idea or not. The second idea was to use masking tape to fill the heart and cut out the excess. The edges aren't as smooth this way, but it might be a more easily accessible idea. And the third one I did on wood. I primed the wood with transparent gesso first, and once it was dry, I used that heart stencil from earlier to cut out a heart from contact paper. It was a little too big, so I cut it a bit smaller and removed the backing paper, or tried to, at least.
5 minutes later.
And then put it on the wood piece. I did seal this with matte medium too. Once they were dry, I cut out the paints and the window squeegee. I used pink, purple, red and white for this. Which, in hindsight, maybe white wasn't the best idea for the white paper, since that's where the leftover paint is going. But anyway, the first paint tracking turned out horrible. I tried redoing it with a bit more pressure, but it still wasn't great. But before fixing that, I wiped the excess paint on the watercolor paper, then I added a bit more paint and redid the wood piece, and wiped the rest of the paint on the watercolor paper over both of the hearts. One of them straight down and the other in different directions to mix the paint more. The reason that the wood piece was so difficult this time was that the gesso made it bend, so the squeegee wasn't touching all of it with equal pressure. But let's peel off the hearts after drying to see which one of them worked the best. The masking tape one came off pretty easily, but it looks a little funny, which was expected since it wasn't a clean cut like the other two. The paper matte medium one was the hardest to remove, and I can tell it was because I let the matte medium go under the paper, which didn't just seal the seam between the two papers, but it literally glued them together. So this could have looked pretty nice if I hadn't done that. And I have a feeling I've done this same mistake before. I like the blending of the colors though, and I might use this again for making a background for painting. The contact paper on the wood piece came off perfectly. Nice clean edges. So I definitely do this contact paper masking technique again for different types of paintings. Not sure if it's going to come off paper as easily as it did from wood though. But this is one idea you could do with the excess paint you have left on the squeegee after painting. But if you think a cat couple would look nice in front of the heart, let's try it in this video here. See you there!